All right, welcome to another IELTS speaking practice video. So today we did a lot of difficult topic already, but so far I'm sure there are some even more difficult topics around. So let's do speaking part one first, okay?
Yeah.
All right, I'm just gonna move this here, and we are now at special costumes. So, oh no, we did this one already. Did we do 31 wallets or purses?
Yeah, we did it. Yeah, we did
Funny
it.
because I didn't write it down. Okay, so let's talk about we have a few more here. Interesting enough. Let's do concentration. So is it hard for you to stay focused on something?
Well, actually, I think I can concentrate pretty well. I mean, when I get down to do something, I usually put all my attention to it and I just want to finish it as quickly as possible.
Mm,
So, yeah, I think it's not hard for me to stay focused on something.
yes. All right. So what do you do to help you concentrate?
Well, to help myself concentrate, I often derive myself from electric electronic devices like my phone because I usually use my phone a lot. So if I have to do without my phone, I think I can concentrate pretty well. And also I always have to remind myself to stay focused on what I'm doing so that the task will be finished, will be accomplished well, and it can save me a lot of time.
Yes. Okay, so when do you need to be focused then?
Well, I think there are many occasions when I need to be focused. For example, I think I need to be focused when I do my homework because I think when I actually concentrate on what I'm doing, it can help me to memorize the knowledge, the information better, and also help me to save time. It also helped me to save time when I do my homework rather than just have some intervals during
Intervals?
like interferences.
Interferences. Yes,
Yeah.
interference is the right word to mention. Interference. To interfere. To interfere, I think. Wait a moment. Interference, right? To interfere. All right, sometimes I'm like, is it with an R or not with an R? Interfere. I'm like to interfere with something. Now, so what may distract you when you're trying to stay focused?
Well, definitely the first distraction will be my mobile phone. I think it's kind is really addictive, and I always want to use my phone as much as possible because I can surf Facebook, TikTok, and I think it's a really fun source of entertainment that I can
On social.
enjoy. Yeah.
And exactly, it's because of TikTok that basically it distract people so much from their work and they get nothing done. So do you think that focus is important?
Yes, definitely. I think that focus is crucial to everything that people do because I think staying focused can help people to finish their work more efficiently and help them to memorize the information much better than when they do not focus.
I see. Now let's come to 39, just pets and animals then. So what is your favorite animal and why?
Mm, I think that my favorite animal will be dogs. Mm, I think this kind of animal, they have a special bonding with humans, and I think dogs they always have some kind of a cheerful mood, and they always make me laugh whenever I look at them. So yeah, I think I love dogs the most.
I see. So what is the most popular animal in your country?
Well, in my country, there are a lot of animals. There are a lot of famous animals due to different regions.
Hmm.
But I think the most popular will be dogs and cats.
Hmm. That's
They
always
are,
it.
yeah, they are usually kept as pets in many households, and they have been a really good companion to,
Companion. Yeah, a very good companion to people.
yes,
Mhm. Good and loyal companion, actually, except from when they want to go out and then they go for several days and they will come back.
yeah.
Now, so have you ever had a pet before?
Yes, actually, I have a cat. I think she is pretty old now. We adopted her from a rescue station, and I was pretty young when we had her, and now when I get older, she is still a big part of our life, and I think I cannot imagine my life when she just, pass away, die, because she's pretty old.
Hmm. I see. So, is she still okay now, or is the dog falling sick right now?
No, she's okay, but I cannot say anything for sure, but yeah, she's okay for now.
Right now it's okay, but we never know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so where do you prefer to keep your pet, indoor or outdoor, and why?
Well, I think I really want to keep my pets both indoors and outdoors. I want a balance between those two environments. Indoors, uh, pets can, when they are indoors, I think they do not have to deal with a lot of extreme weathers, and also I think they will be safer when they are indoors. But when they are outdoors, there are many cases of pets being uh, being caught, and I
Meaning they're
think,
being caught and then they become food for people, isn't it?
yeah, uh,
Well, well, it's crazy to think that a lot of people are still eating cats and dogs in restaurants, you know.
yeah.
So it's definitely not a good idea to keep pets outdoors when you are in an Asian country. Not really. In other countries, like in Western countries, there are laws to protect animals. If people do such a thing, they can be prosecuted. They can be so severely prosecuted and punished, of course. But not in Vietnam, though. Now, so that's about pets and animals, and let's go to 40 about public gardens and parks. So, would you like to be in a public garden or a park? You know, public garden means like people grow plants, flowers there, but it belongs to public.
Well, I think that I would prefer being in a park, because I think being in a park, it gives me more opportunities to do a lot of activities, like walking or going jogging, and there are also many benches that I can sit and chat with my friends. But in a public garden, I think there are just plants or flowers everywhere. So I think I, in my opinion, I do not really like that environment.
I see. So, why do people like to be in public gardens or parks then? Is there people around you? That's why it's a bit noisy, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, I can see. All right, so um, probably I need to change my speaker. There you go. But still, it's I don't know why it's not really canceling the noises now. Maybe it's a bit better now. Okay. So why do people like to be in public gardens or park, Miss Tu?
Well, I think the reason why people like to be in public gardens and parks is because they want to get close to nature. Because these two places have a large number of plants, of trees, and of flowers, and I think people like being in an atmosphere of these pure these nature. So I think that's why.
I see. Be close to nature, and also it's the fresh air, you know. It's the fresh air, it's the smell of the flowers that people want to experience. Because normally people are indoor, you know, and then they have to face like four walls, they have to face the office, they have to face the screen of a computer. So normally if people are connected with nature by going to parks or public gardens, they would probably feel better, I think. Now that's the reason why they like to be in those places. Now, what do you like to do when visiting a park then?
Well, when visiting a park, I do a lot of activities. I often, mostly, I will go to the park and have a chat with my friends about our issues. But also, I when I go to the park, I will go for a walk, or sometimes I just watch people do their own thing. I think
Mhm.
that's this kind of a pleasure to me.
I see. Now, so would you prefer to spend time in a personal garden or public garden? Personal garden means like it's owned by someone, and you do not have to share it with the public. You do not have to share with like people you don't know, you know. And personal gardens, people can customize, you know. People can customize it or edit it or construct it in the way they want it to be, you know? So it's much more original. Nó sẽ nguyên gốc, nó nguyên bản, không giống ai hơn. So which one would you prefer to spend time in then? Public gardens or personal gardens then?
Well, I think personal gardens for sure because I think myself, I do not really like the company of too many people around me. And sometimes
Mhm.
when there are a crowd, people often talk too much, talk too loudly, and it can interfere my time. It
It
can
can interfere with my
with my
yes.
it can prevent me from enjoying the flowers and trees in that garden.
Mhm.
So
Interesting.
yeah,
Interesting that you mentioned like interference with enjoyment of flowers and trees. You mean when you see so many strange people, you mean they will kind of disrupt the atmosphere, you mean?
yeah.
Hmm. That's an interesting thing you just said. Hmm. Like in personal garden, you can basically enjoy a cup of tea or watching the flowers by yourself, and you would not have to fear being disrupted by people, especially children. Oh my God. In public gardens, people bring children, people bring a lot of different weird things, you know. And of course, children running around, they would disturb others. They will surely do that. Anyway, so how are parks today different from those you visited as a child? And think about it, like when you were younger, how it used to look like. Is there any kind of street vendors, người bán hàng rong không? And what do they often sell? These days, is it different? Is it safer? Or, you know, parks in Vietnam are actually not really renowned for safety, you know, because they're often people who are addicted, you know, they are often addicts, không nghiện, who throw like who throw away like hypodermics or needles, you know, on the grass, or trash on the grass, which can be very dangerous to children or people, you know. But I don't know about now. It might be a bit different now. So what do you think, Ms. Tu? How are parks today different from those you visited as a child?
Well, I think the first difference between parks nowadays and those that I visited as a child is space. I think parks now they have extended a lot than the past, and also the facilities have been all upgraded and can serve a larger number of people than in the past. Uh, and also, however, parks nowadays, I think they are less safe and not as hygienic as those in the past. Many people nowadays, despite all the laws, they still litter in inappropriate places. They just throw their trash, whatever they want, and it creates a really unpleasant image of the parks nowadays.
Image.
Image
Mhm.
of parks
Unpleasant
nowadays.
image. Exactly. Right, let's go to part two now. We did a lot in the last couple of time. Okay, so let's do sports now. 33. I don't mean to do real sports. Okay, so describe a live sport event you watched before. Did you do this one before?
I think we no, I think we didn't.
We didn't, right? Okay, let's do this one now. Describe a live sport event. Live means you have to go there and watch it live, you know? You have to watch as it is happening right in front of your eyes. And normally you have to buy tickets for it, of course. Or maybe it's just like you don't have to buy tickets, but you go there and support the team you like, support the person or the sportsman that you like. Now, describe a live sport event you watched before. You should say when it happened, where it took place, who you watched it with, explain how you felt about this experience. And then you have part three of sports event. Do you prefer to watch live sports or watch it on TV? So think about the atmosphere. Think about the fact that you can see your friends and enjoy the time with your friends there in the event, you know? Think about the fact that you can have a chance to, how can I say, I know it's not really encouraged, but some people, they sneak into the changing room, you know, in order to take pictures or to talk to, you know, sportsmen, you know, chống vào phòng thay đồ. They sometimes sneak into changing room in order to find and speak to sportsmen. I know it's not allowed, you know, it's forbidden, of course. It's forbidden to do so, but people still try to sometimes sneak into a changing room or something like that, you know. Of course, you cannot do that if you watch on TV, of course. And also think about the fact that you can have a chance to ask for signatures, from your favorite sportman. You can have a photo with them, of course. Okay, and also think about the hype. Cái sự cuồng lên, cái sự cuồng nhiệt. The hype, the atmosphere, the vibe. And it will become unforgettable moment for you. Unforgettable moment for you. But also think about the fact that sometimes it can be dangerous because live sports, they are often hooligan. You know, hooligans are the people who often are dangerous. They can make a scene. They can cause violence, to cause violence. And of course, there are security guards in live sport events, but sometimes hooligans still manage, you know. Wait, is it hooligan, or can I just moment, please? No, I do not want to pay for this one. Now, hooligan.
Hooligan.
Is a violent person who fights or causes damage in public places. Những kẻ gây hấn. Well, those are hooligans everywhere, you know. You can find hooligans almost everywhere. And in live sport events, they are even more aggressive, you know. And it could be dangerous to people, especially if you are not on good terms with them. I mean, if you are how can I say, if you're supporting the opposing team, you know, to them, they can be very, very angry, you know, and it could be dangerous for you. And also think about the fact that sometimes it rains, or sometimes the place become dirty or full of trash, you know, could sometimes be annoying, you know. When you watch it on TV, you don't spend that much energy compared to if you go and watch live sports, you know. Anyway, next question. Why do some people like to watch live sports? Even though, of course, you have to spend a lot of money to buy tickets for that. You have to prepare food. Is it allowed to bring food? I'm not so sure. To bring food to the stadium? I don't know. Think about what I just said. Now, what kind of sports do Vietnamese people like to watch? I mean, beside from football, you know, beside from football. Don't use the word soccer in IELTS, okay? The British examiners, they would not like it. I mean, the IELTS examiner, they don't like the word soccer, okay? Use the word football. Okay, so what kind of sports do Vietnamese people like to watch? I mean, beside from football, Vietnamese people also like to watch what's it called? Martial arts. They do. Martial arts. Võ thuật. Of course, it's kind of exciting somehow. They like to watch billiard, you know. Billiard as a sport, billiard. And what else? Because a lot of people, they play billiard when they're in their high school years or university years, you know, college years. Besides, we have tennis and badminton, and also swimming too. But to be honest with you, those sports doesn't receive much public attention. They don't receive much public attention compared to football. That's why, you know, the Vietnamese football team, they receive so much training, so much attention, and so much money as well compared to the other sports. So it's kind of annoying, you know. Now, what else? So do you think competition is good for students? Competition here means two things. It can be a contest, you know, or it can be like being competitive, you know. Cái từ competition có hai nghĩa nha. Thứ nhất đó là cuộc thi, đấu. Cái thứ nhì là sự cạnh tranh. Do you think competition is good for students? Think about the fact that being competitive, does it help people to achieve, to strive to achieve something better? Without it, what would happen? Would students be lazy, unmotivated, and to live a life without purpose? That is dangerous, I think, because people would waste their time living a life like that. I think it's dangerous somehow. Now, and also competition helps, how can I say, it helps company, especially the sponsors, to sell their goods, giúp những nhà tài trợ bán được đồ hơn. Yeah. So it's actually boost sales. It's a way to boost sales. To boost sales, gia tăng đẩy mạnh doanh số. So it's a very good thing, I would believe so. But however, think about when competition becomes something that is detrimental or bad, what could happen? Does it help? Does it make people like really overly aggressive or overly competitive? You know what I'm talking about. And it can cause students to be extremely stressed out, burn out. They can become so burn out and stress out, Okay, think about that one and give us some examples, a lot of examples. All right, you have some time now. Okay, Ms. Thư, please describe a live sports event that you watched before.
So I'm going to talk about a time when I watched the final football match of a national championship about a few years ago when I was in grade 10. Well, this final match took place in my own city in a really big stadium, and me and my friends, are offered, we are present, we are offered tickets from a friend of my father's, and we decided to go with our whole family. And I think at the match we had a really fun time with each other. At this stadium, I can see I could see a lot of people wearing different clothes, supporting their own team, and everybody was shouting, cheering, and clapping to to liven up their favorite team's spirit. Although during this match, the weather wasn't really nice because it rained slightly, but it couldn't discourage people from enjoying the amazing game that they were watching. And uh, although the team that I supported didn't win, it was the runner-up in the championship. I was a bit sad, but I think seeing the players in person, putting all their effort into the competition, made me feel really proud and somehow really happy for their efforts.
Okay, very good. Very good now. So, do you prefer to watch live sport or watch on TV, and why?
Well, in my opinion, I think I personally prefer to watch sports on TV. Well, as a matter of fact, I'm an introvert. I really do not like the company of too many people around me. So if I watch live sports and I have to be surrounded by a large number of people shouting, screaming, and raising their voice, I would be really uncomfortable. And also, when I watch live sports watch live sports, there may be a risk of violence. There are many
And
people.
yes.
Yeah, there are many people who like support a team, and that team doesn't win. They may be really aggressive and unfriendly towards the supporters, the other people, and this situation has happened quite a lot in many matches all over the world. And sometimes there may be fights, conflicts, and also many violence that cause people a lot of injuries, and they have to go to the hospital. So for myself, I really want to watch sports on TV that I can enjoy it on my own, and I do not have to take the risk of being of being
Yes. Being
harassed
exposed
by
to or being
other people.
harassed. Of course, as you are a young girl, you should be careful with that. You know, you never know how nasty people can be, especially when you are in a live sports event. People can be especially really nasty, you know. You don't even want to know how nasty they can be. Anyway, so why do some people like to watch live sports then?
Well, I think the reason is that they really like the atmosphere, the hype that they get to enjoy when they watch live sports.
Mhm.
Being surrounded by many people who have the same interests as you, it can help you to liven up the mood, and it can makes you feel like you are involved in something bigger, something more important than yourself. Uh, and also, I think people watching live sports also want to see the players, their
Mhm.
favorite players in person. Some people even have a chance to get the signatures of those players or have a handshake with them. And I think it can be an unforgettable moment to those people.
Yes. All
So,
right. So,
yeah.
what kinds of sports do Vietnamese people like to watch then?
Well, I think Vietnamese uh, there are uh, there are a lot of kinds of sports that Vietnamese people like to watch, but I think the most popular kind is football. Every Vietnamese household has to has to have one person who are really interested in football, and they always have to see every match,
Mhm.
every game with their favorite players in it. And this kind of sport has captured so much attention from Vietnamese people that a lot of young children like desire to be a footballer so that they can um, be in the public or receive the attention, and they can earn a lot of money through playing
Mm.
football if they are good.
Interesting.
Also, Vietnamese people like to watch martial arts, billiard, or these are the second most popular kinds of sports. These sports have are not as popular as football, but they also play an important part in a lot of Vietnamese people's lives. Uh,
Mhm.
Also, I think tennis, badminton, or swimming can also be a can also be sports that Vietnamese people like to watch, although as they are not as famous as the other kinds of sports. But still they are a minority of Vietnamese people do like to watch these kinds of sports.
Yes. Okay, so do you think competition is good for student?
Well, I think competition can be good for students if they do not overuse it. First, talking about the advantages, competition can motivate students to make them to strive harder to achieve their goals. They will not be lazy, but they will have purposes. They will set goals to achieve, and I think it can help them to get what they want, and this can be a really good characteristic for students when they grow up and have a job. But also when students compete too much, there's too much competition for students. They can gradually, I think they can be overly aggressive, and uh, they can be driven by their desire to win, and they will not care whether their schemes, whether their plans are harmful to themselves or to the others. They just have one goal, is that to win, to get what they want. Also, if there is too much competition, students can feel burnout or stressed out, and they may not they cannot achieve as much as they want because they are already too tired to try anymore. And when they go in for when they attend a competition, if they fail too much, they attend too much competitions and they fail a large number of them, students can feel a little demoralized, and this will demotivate them. This will demotivate them from trying,
It would
from achieving
demotivate
their
them from
goals.
trying to achieve better, right? And it might create a society of people who have no purpose, and they just basically they are mediocre. Mediocre, you know that word, right? Mediocre. Mediocre. Mediocre means like they are just average, but that is a disproving. This is an it's a kind of disapproving word. Mediocre means like someone who is nothing special, very boring, you know, tầm thường, mediocre. It will create like mediocre people, and that's bad. Why is it bad? Because when there's something changing, they cannot change because they're so mediocre. There's nothing special. They don't want to live better. They don't want to change their situation, you know. If they are poor, they just want to live poor, you know. So competition is actually quite useful in order to help people become a better version of themselves, you know, and help society. So in a way, I do support that. Okay, how about a bad side of competition then? What's your idea then? How about being when having too many competition and people are so stressed out, or they have to, how can I say, allocate so much energy, use so much energy into joining fruitless competition. You know the word fruitless, right? It means it's pointless and it does not produce any good result, but it's just there for fun, you know? Like I have personally seen people who join so many competitions which are fruitless. Okay, they receive so many fancy results and fancy prizes, but they neglect their own study. So as a result, in the long run, they end up being mediocre, not something great. You know what I mean, right? Like some people who are involved in sports competition too much, they neglect their study. And as a result, when they are older, they have to spend so much time to catch up, or they cannot even catch up with the others, And as a result, they become a nobody, a mediocre person, Có nhiều bạn cứ tập trung vào thi đấu thể thao hay cái gì đó quá mà bỏ bê chuyện học á. Cuối cùng các bạn có kết cục tốt đẹp không? Not really, right? So you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
And sadly, people are very hyped when it comes to competition. Because competition are actually very attractive, alluring option for them. Một cái sự lựa chọn rất là hấp dẫn với mọi người luôn á. It's a very alluring option. Một lựa chọn rất hấp dẫn. Because a lot of people, they want to escape from the daily routine, from the norm, Những cái bình thường muốn trốn thoát rồi đó. So they may choose competition as one way to escape that. When I was younger, I was kind of similar, But luckily, I was not too involved in that. Anyway, so that was 33. Let's try 34. Can you look at this one, 34, and see if we have done before? Describe a person's home you visited that you liked, but you would not want to live in. Have you done it before?
I think we haven't.
Okay, let's try 34 then. You should say where it is, what it is like, why you visited, and explain why you would not like to live there. For example, there are too many people there. It's fun to visit, but not fun to stay for every day. Something like that. Or maybe it's a relative's house where you can see so many fun friends to hang out with. But the problem is they don't live in the same way as you do, Something like that. Or for example, everyone wants to kind of live in a place that is beautiful and fancy, like for example, a castle with a beautiful rose garden or something like that. But exactly to live in there, you have to pay so much for gas, electricity, and maintenance. The cost of living there, isn't cheap. Something like that. Just to give you some ideas. Now, part 3 of visiting others. Now, do Vietnamese people like to visit others' homes? Think about that. Well, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Okay, depending on like their personality. Like for example, I like to make new friends, but the problem is I don't exactly like to visit other people's home, because I'm an introvert. I'm an introvert, but I'm friendly. That's the thing. It's funny, right? Have you ever seen an introvert that are friendly?
No, I think I'm the same.
Oh, you're the same. Interesting. I have a lot of energy, but I am actually an introvert. That's funny. Anyway, that's why you find me, I guess. Anyway, so think about that. It depends on personality. It depends on what age group you're talking about. Of course, the younger people, they like to visit other people's home and they like to sleep over, of course. Ngủ lại nhà người ta, to sleep over. And then they play cardboard, play a board game, something like that. But if you're an introvert, as a young person, an introvert, you might not want to involve in those games at all. I prefer to just stay home and play video games and then speak to my cats, All right, and think also about like Vietnamese people. Vietnam actually has a culture, an agricultural background. So Vietnam has an agricultural background. So what does it mean? Văn hóa nông nghiệp. It means that we have agricultural culture. And it means that everyone lives and gather like a community. So the sense of community is still very strong in Vietnam. And everyone, that's the reason why people like to gather and visit others' homes. But these days it's changing because of the stress, the workload, and the lack of time. People are way different compared to the past. Like where I'm living in District 7, everyone lives by themselves, It's hard for neighbors to even greet each other sometimes. So it's hard for neighbors to meet and greet each other sometimes, Think about that. Okay, so what do Vietnamese people do when they visit others? Think about what I just said. To play board games, card games. Sometimes they sleep over, just chat, And I think just normal things like that. Is it common to bring gifts when visiting others? Because, sometimes it's not compulsory. Of course, it's not compulsory. It's not compulsory. It's not obligatory. Or it's not mandatory, of course. Nó không bắt buộc đâu. It's not obligatory. It's not mandatory. It's not compulsory to bring gifts when visiting others. When visiting others, but yeah, I think in the north, it's like a rule, unwritten rule. An unwritten rule. Một điều luật bất thành văn. It's like nobody writes that rules, but everyone has to understand that. It's like that when you come to visit others, you should bring some kind of gift. Otherwise, people will think that you are impolite, You don't want to be considered as impolite, But when you go down south, it's different. It become a bit more different. People are much more welcoming. They are very hospitable. Hospitable, I think. How do you pronounce that word correctly? It's hospitable, yeah.
Hospitable.
I knew it. People are much more hospitable. Hiếu khách hơn. So it means that people are much more willing to give food and shelter to their guests. They are much more willing to meet their guests, and they may even let the guests sleep over, So in the South, I don't think it's ever, a problem if you do not bring gifts when visiting others, So you have to think about like where you're talking about. And also think about age groups. The older people are much more like they adhere by the rules, They abide or they just abide by the rules, or they just adhere to, let's just say, abide by the rules, or to adhere to social norms. Họ cứ bám lấy những cái điều bình thường của xã hội ấy. They just adhere to social norms, something like that. And visiting them, you have to understand something like that. Otherwise, they will judge you. Of course, the older people, they judge a lot, especially in Vietnam. Anyway, so you think about 34, can you? Okay, Mr. Please describe a person's home you visited that you liked but would not want to live in.
Well, I'm going to talk about my cousin's home that I visited, but I would not want to live in it. Well, the place is a rental apartment, and it is located in the city center. It was a isn't well, it's not really spacious, although it's really cozy and has really modern facilities. And I visited it as a because he has just recently bought it, so he opened a house welcome and he invited me to come over to visit his house. I really liked I really like the space inside the home, but I would not want to live there. Well, the reason is that it is rental, so so if I live there, I have to pay every month, and I think that's a bit inconvenient. And also because it is in the city center, so it is crowded day and night, and there's too much traffic, and the air is not as clean as many houses that are far from the center, and it is too noisy. And I think if I live there, I I wouldn't be able to concentrate on my work, and I will be easily get distracted and also get annoyed when I have to deal with a lot of noise at the same time. So that's a house, that a person's home that I visited, and I pretty liked the space, but I would not find myself living in it.
I see. So, so do Vietnamese people like to visit others' homes, Miss Thư?
Well, I think it depends on each individuals. It depends on their personalities or the age groups. For example, regarding the personalities, there are many people who are extroverts and really like uh, coming over to their friends or their relatives' house in order to have a chat or just to have a chat with their friends or cousins. They just like the company of being surrounded by people, and visiting their homes will be an ideal thing. But
Yes.
also, there are many people who like to be alone and stay in one place, and they do not like to visit others' homes and do not like the idea of having to be surrounded by many people or having to talk too much. So they just do not like to visit others' homes. Also, it depends on the age groups. I think uh, young people they like to visit their friends' homes in order to have a sleepover or to chat or to play board games. Also, uh, the older generations, because they have lived in the past, and in the past Vietnam had an agricultural background,
Mhm.
so
It
I
still
think for
is. It
them,
still is a
yeah.
very agricultural country, you know?
So yeah, for them, their sense of community is still really strong. So they really like having a lot of people around to have a chat, to uh, talk to each other about the matters of life. So I think it actually depends on many factors.
Mm-hmm. I see. Right. So what do Vietnamese people do when they visit others then? Since you mentioned a reason. And so what kind of activities do they do when they visit others then?
Well, I think when Vietnamese people visit others, I think they just do normal things that probably they will come over to have a chat or to talk about their daily life. or they just want to visit their friends or their relatives after a time of not after a time of being far away from each other. Sometimes I think Vietnamese people they will probably have a party at their house, and probably they will eat, or they will have a drink, or eat something together to celebrate a special occasion of the household. So I think it's just the normal things, daily, the daily things that Vietnamese people will do when they visit others.
I see. Now, is it common to bring gifts when visiting others? Why not?
Well, I think whether it is common to bring gifts when visiting others or not depends on the regions or the nations, or even each person. For example, in many places, if you visit someone's house, if visit someone for the first time, it is really recommended that you bring something over for them as a token of respect for the host.
As a
And if
token of respect. Very good way to say it. A token of respect. Or you can just say a token of their appreciation, you know. Oh, sorry, their appreciation. Okay, anything else?
and if you and in many places, it is not really compulsory for you to bring gifts when you visit someone, because many people they do not really prioritize having to receive gifts from someone when they visit their house. They just solely want to meet the person. They just I think their visit will be the most precious gift that that the host can have. So they do not really require the visitors to bring any gifts. But also, there are many places where people think bringing gifts is an unwritten rule. It is
Mhm.
not said out loud, but people have to know by themselves that when they visit someone, they have to bring some gifts to, and if they do not do that, they will be considered impolite and will not, and the host will feel they are disrespected by those people who visit them. So I
Mm,
think it depends on each nations and each person to consider it is common or not.
I see. All right, so okay, let's move on. This is 34. Um, okay, 35 is a bit weird, you know? It's describe an interesting conversation you had with someone. An interesting conversation you had with someone. So it's not something that is mundane, you know? It's not something mundane. It has to be interesting. Now, you should say who you spoke with, where you were, what the conversation was about, and why you think it was interesting. It can be about a topic that you have never really thought of before. It can be, well, it can be a topic that people have been avoiding talking about, you know? Like, for example, about getting married or about boyfriend, girlfriend, or something like that. But remember, it doesn't have to be something too serious, you know? It just have to be something interesting. Maybe talking about like life goals or dreams or any kind of aspiration, những khát vọng, aspiration or desires, you know. It could be very interesting. Okay, and the part 3 of interesting conversation. What is the most interesting conversation you've ever had? So it's a bit different from part 2. This is just one interesting conversation you had. But in our life, we can have a chance to chat or to converse or to talk to people, interesting people. And you should talk about a different interesting conversation you have ever had, you know. Just try to describe what it is. So it's almost feel like a different part 2, you know. So in your opinion, what makes another person interesting to talk to? So think about their different and open-minded approach to life. They just think differently compared to the rest of the people, you know, and they do not normally think like the others. They do not go into the like a rabbit hole, you know. It's a saying like go down the rabbit hole. It means that they just basically travel the already plugged through the already settled constructed roads, you know. They don't try to explore new possibilities. So if people have a wealth of experience, of life experience, they would be interesting to talk to. But normally, I think it just you can also think about their characteristic, their personalities. You know, some people are just naturally born interesting. Some people are just born interesting. They have their own originality. Họ có tính nguyên bản của riêng họ. Nguyên gốc luôn, không có copy từ ai. It means they do not copy from everybody, from anybody. They're just themselves. They just be themselves. And they are very interesting, very original. Nobody's like them. It seems I'm talking about myself. You know, a lot of people think that I am original, very interesting. I mean, I'm boasting maybe, but yeah, people are so boring. Anyway, so you can think about also what they do, you know, not just what they think, what they talk about, but you can also talk about what they do. Like, for example, most people, by now, most teachers would prefer to open like offline classes, right? But why I'm still sticking to online ones? Because I don't think like the rest of the public do. I do not do things similar to other people, you know? Anyway, so what they do can be interesting too. Think about that. And a person can be interesting through their group of friends and the person they associate with, you know, to associate with someone. Like, for example, what group of friends do they often associate with? Can make them really interesting, you know. Give some examples. Now, is it difficult to start a conversation with someone you don't know, and why? Well, once again, it depends a lot on interests. Sorry, it depends a lot on interests. Những hứng thú. It depends a lot on personality, of course. What else? Interest, personality. The language barrier is, of course, very important. The language barrier, super important. If you do not speak the same language like they do, it's almost impossible to converse, to have a conversation. Well, think about, it's difficult. Well, it also depends on the age age gap too, you know. And or you can talk about the generation gap, of course. And give some examples. All right, 35 then. Time to think. Okay, Miss Thư, please describe an interesting conversation you had with someone, please.
So I'm going to talk about an interesting conversation that I had with my old friend about her love life. Well, I was just going for a walk on a Sunday morning, and then I came across my old friend from my secondary school. She was one of my best friends at that time, but since we moved to different schools, we didn't keep in touch with each other anymore. And when I met her, when I bumped into her, we decided to sit down and have a chat about our recent life. And she told me about her love life, about the boyfriends that she had. And the reason why I think it was really interesting, because when I was her best friend,
Interesting.
interesting is that when I was her friend, just a few years ago, she really liked the solitude of her life, and she told me that she hated having a boyfriend who was always around her, and sometimes even and she think it was really annoying to have a boyfriend. But then when I met her again, she told me about two or three people that she dated, and that was really unexpected and weird for her to uh, turn into a completely different person that I knew. However, I think the story was really humorous, as she didn't really like any of those of her boyfriends. She just wanted to have some experiences. And we ended our conversation when her mom phoned her and she had to go home. And the conversation had left me really shocked about her my old friend recently. So I think that's a really interesting conversation that I had with my friend.
Okay, let's do the next one, which is, what's the most interesting conversation you've ever had then?
Well, I think throughout my life until right now, I think I have had a lot of interesting conversations. I think those conversations are really either that they are really humorous, they make me laugh, or they give me a lot of knowledge. For example, there are many conversations that I had with my friends in my daily life that can be considered really interesting to me, because they are really funny and always make me laugh uh, a lot. And it helps me to relieve stress uh, and it helps me to cheer me up in some way. And also I'm also
Interested.
interested in conversations that give me a lot of knowledge. For example, some conversations with my teachers about my subjects, such as maths or English, and those conversations give me a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge, a lot of information that I haven't known before, and can really be useful in my future career. So I think there are many kinds of conversations that I had, and I think they are really interesting.
I see. So in your opinion, what makes another person interesting to talk to? Was it their voice? Sometimes voice can make people feel like the conversation is going somewhere, it's interesting. So that's why there are some classes to improve the voice of people. Cái giọng nói quan trọng đó nha.
Uh, well, in my opinion, I think that the most important factor that can make a person interesting to talk to is their knowledge. And that person, the conversations with that person can give me a lot of information that I haven't had before. It helps me to broaden my knowledge and also helps me to become more open-minded and get exposed to different viewpoints to life. Those conversations are really interesting, and I think they are really useful for me when I have to deal with a lot of difficulties in my life. And I think that's the most important thing of a person is their knowledge. And
The knowledge, right?
yeah.
Mm.
And second,
But sometimes people have lots of knowledge, but they're just really boring to talk to. It's just like they're not used to talking, or they're just not really good with conversation, making a conversation. Think about professors or teachers or in the university. Oh my God, they have so much knowledge, but talking to them is really boring. So it's their skill. If they have the charisma, the word charisma, right?
yeah.
Charisma. Charisma means like appearance and knowing how to talk. Cái diện mạo và cách nói chuyện nó tạo cái charisma. I don't know what's the Vietnamese word for charisma though. I have no idea. But it just makes people really, really want to talk to them. Charisma. It's very important. Like the combination of appearance, good appearance, and the way to talk. They really know how to talk. Can also plays a role in that. And then what did I tell you? This clothes and appearance, sometimes they do, right? But I think mainly it's just like they know how to talk. I do not really agree about knowledge though. Okay, if you do have knowledge, you do have a lot of things to talk about, but how about if you have a lot of knowledge, but you don't know how to talk? You can bore people very easily. That happens very often. And you can become very awkward. It's called socially awkward. Kỳ cục lắm luôn á, nó trở nên kỳ cục về mặt xã hội. It's like socially awkward because when you say things that people do not want to hear. Okay, so is it difficult to start a conversation with someone you don't know, and why?
Well, I think it depends on each person. But I think it's pretty difficult to start a conversation with someone that you don't know. For as a matter of fact, as you just meet them for the first time, so it is hard to find a common voice, hard to find something that you are both interested in,
Hmm.
and
Interested. Những âm đầu nha. Interested in.
and
Interested. Interesting. Interested. Interest. Okay.
um, and when you cannot find something that you have in common, I think it is really hard to start a conversation with each other. Also, there can be problems about language barriers. With someone you do not know, they may speak a different language, and when you try to start a conversation, you will have to face this problem. And if you still want to talk to each other, you may have to use translation apps, and may not be true, and they may not interpret what the other person are trying to.
You mean using like language apps, right? There are some apps like that. They use AI, artificial intelligence, and they can help greatly. I see. Okay, so is there any other reasons why it can be difficult to start a conversation with a stranger, and why?
Well, I think it can be put down to their personalities as well.
Some
Maybe.
personality is just weird, like for example, if you believe in astrology, sometimes it's just like between a Capricorn and say a Gemini or a Leo, you guys don't have anything in common at all. So it's like really awkward when you try to talk to each other, giống như là hai cung hoàng đạo mà nó không liên quan với nhau đó. Nó không giống nhau, nó không giống nhau, nó cũng chẳng chống lại nhau, mà nó chẳng liên quan với nhau cả. It's like sometimes it's really awkward to talk to each other. It's like you feel like, nah, I have nothing to talk to them, about. All right, so I'm just giving you a very, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
All
I
right,
think
so
I know something that I do not know like too much, but I
I
want
know
to learn in the
astrology.
future. Yeah.
Sorry?
I think I want to learn astrology in the future.
Oh, well, if you really want to know astrology, go to my
Basically.
channel. I have an astrology channel to teach people like basic astrology as well. Like for example, go to this one. I have here. If you go to this channel, you can see there are my lessons here. You can start from lesson 1 and go all the way to understand like basic astrology. I haven't had time enough to just pump out more videos, but probably soon. It's a huge topic. It's like you're getting your bachelor degree after you've learned all of these things, lots of knowledge. Trust me. Trời ơi, cái lượng kiến thức nó nhiều dã man luôn á. Như lấy bằng cử nhân luôn á. It's like check out my channel, Hân Trần Chim Tinh, and you'll see. Okay, so the next topic for you is 37. Can you look at 37 if we have done it before? A time you made a promise to someone.
No, we didn't. We haven't.
Okay, let's do 37. Describe a time you made a promise to someone. You should say what a promise was, to whom you made it, whether it was easy or difficult to keep that promise, and explain why you made it. Oh, by the way, when are you going to take your exam then, Miss Thư?
I haven't decided, but I think maybe September or October.
Okay, October seems better, I think.
Yeah, okay.
I think October is better. Remind me to check out which date of exam is better for you, okay? I can see the transit, the astrological transit, and I can tell you which day is the best for you.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so part 3 of promise. What kinds of promises do people often make? So think about promises about what? Think promises about self-improvement, for example. Like when are we gonna, it's like it promises to ourselves, promises when we'll hit the gym, when will I try to lose weight, promises when I would try to eat healthier, something like that, People always try to make these promises. Promise to ourselves when we will finish the deadline on time, in time, when we will try to study more, something like that, But you can also talk about promises from people to people. Think about promises about love. Oh, I will love you until the end of time. We will love each other forever. And then a few years later, they signed the divorce paper. Hứa sẽ yêu nhau đến trọn đời, nhưng cuối cùng vài năm sau, tôi ký đơn ly hôn. They signed the divorce paper. Oh well. that's what happens a lot, you know. What can we say? Think about promises when we buy something. Of course, the sellers will often promise a lot. They lie a lot to customers, you know, just so that you will buy from them. Think about that. Promises about the quality of the products that you buy. Think about promises of doing something for people. Hứa sẽ làm gì đó cho con người ta. But people never really keep up with their promise, you know. They just promise for the sake of it. People can just promise for the sake of it. Người ta chỉ hứa vì hứa cho chơi thôi. Để hứa thôi. People can just promise for the sake of it. And they do not intend to keep their promise, you know. Không muốn gì là hứa đâu. Nhiều người vậy. Well, especially I think that people who talk a lot tend to promise a lot too. Well, let's talk about the next question. Do parents in Vietnam make promises to their children? Oh, think about, if you achieve well in your exam, we will bring you to Disneyland, for example. We'll bring you to buy something expensive for you, something like that, you know? Parents in Vietnam always do promise something like that. And for sure, normally they do not keep their promises, you know? Well, think about also promises to their children, like, for example, they will take their children to the park to spend more time with their children, but parents in Vietnam are often very busy, you know? Think about the fact that some parents can promise to spend more time with their child, you know, with their children. Give some ideas, give some examples too. Now, do children keep their promises? Of course, they don't. Of course they do sometimes. It depends on how serious the child is. But some children, they just don't remember their promises, and then they have to be reminded, you know. Sometimes children, they have to be reminded of their own promises, you know, because they're children. What do you expect? And think about what kind of promises. They will promise to wake up early. Of course, that's very common. They will promise to do all of their homework. They promise to clean up their room, you know, to clean up their room. They promise to, how can I say, to keep good personal hygiene, để giữ vệ sinh thân thể tốt. To keep good personal hygiene, to visit their parents, something like that, you know. So, or to visit people, to promise to behave well. Of course. All right, why do some people fail to keep their promises? I'm sure you know the answer for this. So why do some people promise a lot? Think about salespeople, you know. Salesmen and women, of course. Think about that. People often promise just to gain a temporary trust from others, để có được một cái lòng tin tạm thời từ người khác. Người ta thường hứa hẹn. Well, of course, people can promise you in order to gain your trust and gain some benefit from you to gain benefits from you, of course. Give some examples, like promises about quality of the products I told you before. And also think about sometimes people promise because they want to live in their fantasy. To live in their own fantasy, sống trong cái ảo vọng của riêng họ. and in their fantasy, they dream about a perfect, let's just say a perfect love life, một cuộc sống tình thương, tình yêu hoàn hảo ấy. They promise that they will love each other forever, but reality is, of course, the reality can be quite, how can I say, grim and abysmal, ảm đạm và tệ. The reality can be quite grim and abysmal. That's why people promise a lot, but they often fail to keep their promises, something like that. Most often, I see people promise in their wedding, and think about promises in the workplace, promises for the customer, something like that. All right, so some time to think. Okay, Miss Thư, please describe a time you made a promise to someone.
So I'm going to talk about a time when I made a promise to my mom to
To my
limit
mother? You mean
to my mother to limit my screen time. Well, at that time I was in grade 10, and I used my mobile phone too much, and it led to my short-sightedness. So the doctor said that I shouldn't use my phone too much, and since then my mom has made me limit my screen time, and I could only use it for about 2 hours a day, and this rules is still and this rule is still have it still has to be obeyed in my house right now. And I think it was a pretty difficult promise to keep, because I feel like my phone was an essential thing to me, and I relied on my phone too much.
I rely on my phone too
I
much.
rely on my phone too much.
Because there's a word, rely on and realize, it's different. So I rely on my phone too much.
And I relied on my phone too much, as is I think it was my only source of entertainment. So it was really hard to keep away from it. And as much as I didn't like that promise, I still had to keep and accomplish it because of because of my own health.
Yes.
And after a while of limiting my screen time for for almost 2 years, and my mom allowed me to use my
My
phone.
mother allowed me to.
Yeah, my mother allowed me to continue using my phone as much as I want, but not all day, all night. So that's a time when I made a promise to my mother, and I think I did pretty well in keeping that promise.
I see. Now, so what kinds of promises do people often make?
I think there are a lot of promises that people often make. First, I think they can make promises about self-improvement. They promise to themselves or to other people that they will try to upgrade themselves, try to improve themselves mentally and physically. Also, I think people they also make promises about when they are in love, like men, and when they get into marriage, they will promise to love each other forever, or they will promise to will not that they will promise that they will not leave their partner's side for the rest of their life, like to assure a happy marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I think there are many promises about the products that the salesman often make to the consumers.
Consumer.
They promise about the safety, about the efficiency of their products, so that the buyers, they will believe in those words and will buy their products, and as a result to increase their sales.
Mhm. Okay. Now, so do parents in Vietnam make promises to their children?
Well, in my opinion, I think that Vietnamese parents always make promises to their children. The most popular case when Vietnamese parents make promises to their children is when their children um, want to have something and they make a scene about it and try to attract their parents' attention so that they can get what they want, maybe a toy or an ice cream. And Vietnamese parents often, they do not really want to they do not want to give their children what they want because it can make them be that can because that can make their children be less disciplined, and they will always think that they can have what they want. So Vietnamese parents, they will make promises that they will buy something else for their children to make up for the items, the things that their children want. Also, I think when Vietnamese children get high scores in competitions, Vietnamese parents often make promises to
Oh, sorry, I think
give
the
them
internet just cut out.
allowances.
Okay, can you say that sentence again, please?
Or when Vietnamese children get high scores in competition, so parents will make promises to give them allowances or
Mhm.
to give them holidays to celebrate the high scores that their children get in order to encourage them to try harder the next time. So there are many situations when Vietnamese parents make promises to their children in many ways.
Okay. And on the opposite side, I mean, on the opposite side of the spectrum, I mean, on the receiving end, do children keep their promises?
Well, I think that mostly children, they will not be able to keep their promises. Well, as a matter of fact, as they are only children, so they will easily forget their promises and they will be distracted by a large number of other things that are in their life. So the promises that they have made will easily be ignored, be forgotten, and sometimes they have to be reminded so that they can keep their promises, or else they will completely have no memory about those promises that they make. But also there are a few children who are really good at keeping promises once they have made any promises to anyone, they will remember it really well. And although they are not, sometimes they are not capable of keeping them, they will always try to make it happen at some way, whether seeking help or make another promise to make up for it.
I see. So why do some people fail to keep their promises? It happens a lot. Trust me, it happens so often. But why?
Well, I think the first reason why some people fail to keep their promises is that they just forget about those promises. Because I think many people, they have a lot of troubles, a lot of tasks to deal with in their life. So some promises will easily be ignored, be forgotten, and they will prioritize the other important tasks in their life. So as a result, they fail to keep their promises. And also another common reason is that they just cannot, they just do not want to keep the promises because they are not able to keep the promises. For example, when someone promises to, uh, when someone promises to lend somebody something,
Oh,
they
lend
just,
somebody something and they would never get it back. You know,
yeah, and the borrower, they promise to give it back, maybe money or some,
within a limited amount of time.
yeah, very quickly, and the exact amount of money. But the but the person who lends it, they never get to see their money again, and the promises to get to return the money is never being kept, because maybe they are not capable of earning those money back, or they just too selfish and they do not want to return the money, and they just
Or
want to keep it to
worse,
themselves.
or worse, a lot of people they are leeches, giống như con đỉa đó. A lot of people they are like leeches. They leech on you. You can use it as like a verb, có dùng như leech như động từ á. Hút máu. They can leech on you because they know that you have something that they can use you. Hút máu với tại vì ta thấy lợi dụng được mình như vậy. So people I often promise a lot and then you give them something and you will never see it back. Those kind of people, they are everywhere. They are opportunists. Những kẻ lợi dụng những cái cơ hội, opportunist. They're everywhere and they often promise you a lot, and then once they get what they want, you will never see them again. It's like that. Wow, people like that. You can find them everywhere now. Now, so why do some people promise a lot then?
Well, I think it can be attributed to a lot of factors. But first, I think salesmen, they promise much more than other people, because they have to advertise their products to the buyers, and they always have to promise about the safety or the efficiency of their products, and in that way they can gain trust from the consumers, so that they will buy a lot of their products to improve the sales and gain benefits. Also, there are some people who promise just to assure other people. For example, people promise to uh, love each other forever. To
To the end
people
of time. Like that. To the end of time. To the
yeah,
end of their lives.
yeah, for their partner to have faith in them, and those promises, they may not really happen, but people still make those promises, and the other will still believe in them. I think those promises can serve as a source of belief, of faith, that someone wants to give to the other, so that they will trust in them and they will support them, and will not cause many troubles to that person. So I think those are the reasons why some people promise a lot.
I see. I think we can just end it here now.